You've watched the videos, you've seen the warnings. You understand that the $38 trillion debt is unpayable, that foreign central banks are dumping US treasuries, that the 2026 maturity wall is hitting right now, and that we're in the opening phase of a financial crisis that could trigger global conflict. You get it. The system is breaking. But now you're asking the question that actually matters. Okay, so what the hell do I do about it? How do ordinary people, people who aren't billionaires with offshore accounts and private islands, how do we survive what's coming? Because understanding the problem without knowing the solution just leaves you paralyzed with fear. And fear without action is useless. In the next 25 minutes, I'm going to give you the roadmap. The practical, actionable steps you can take right now, today, January 23rd, 2026, to protect yourself and your family from what's unfolding. This isn't theory. This isn't speculation. This is the playbook that has worked every single time currencies collapse and empires fall. We're going to cover the hard assets that survive crisis. Gold, silver, and yes, even cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about the mistakes people make that get them destroyed. And we're going to discuss the timeline, because timing matters when things are moving this fast. But first, let me be absolutely clear about something. This is not investment advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you to buy or sell anything. What I'm doing is showing you the historical patterns, the current data, and the options that people who survive these crises consistently use. What you do with that information is your decision and your responsibility. Consult actual professionals. Do your own research. But do something, because doing nothing is the worst decision you can make right now. We're not talking about getting rich. We're talking about not getting poor. We're talking about preserving what you have while the currency system undergoes a violent reset. We're talking about insurance against a pawn market that's already cracking and a dollar that is losing global reserve status in real time. And we need to talk about it now because the window is closing fast. Let's start with the brutal reality check, the context that makes this urgent. As of today, January 23rd, 2026, here's where we are. The 10-year U.S. Treasury yield is sitting at 4.79%, the highest level since 2007, and it's rising despite the Federal Reserve cutting rates. That's the bond market in open rebellion, pricing in default risk and inflation that the Fed can't control. Gold just hit $4,620 per ounce this morning, up over 30% in the last 4 months. That's not speculation. That's central banks and smart money fleeing paper assets. Silver is at $32.50 per ounce, up from $23 just 6 months ago. Bitcoin is trading around $104,000, volatile but still holding near all-time highs, despite regulatory uncertainty. Foreign holders of U.S. treasuries are in full retreat. China is down to $680 billion, the lowest since 2008. Japan just sold another $6 billion last week. Saudi Arabia reduced holdings again. The buyers are gone. And the U.S. government needs to borrow $2 trillion this year just to function. Who's going to buy that debt? The only answer is the Federal Reserve, which means money printing, which means inflation, which means your dollars are worth less every single day. The corporate debt maturity wall we've been warning about is hitting right now. Over $850 billion in corporate debt matures in Q1 2026 alone. Companies that borrowed at 1% at 2% in 2021 now have to refinance at 5-6%. Many can't. Bankruptcies are spiking. Unemployment claims went from 220,000 per week in December to 340,000 last week. That's a 50% increase in 6 weeks. The layoffs are accelerating. The stock market is down 18% from its October 2025 peak. Retirement accounts are bleeding. And we're only in January. This isn't a warning about something that might happen later. This is happening now, which means the time to act is not next month or next year. It's today. So let's talk about what to actually do. The foundation of crisis survival throughout all of history comes down to one principle. Own things that cannot be printed, that have intrinsic value, and that maintain purchasing power when paper currencies collapse. Throughout every hyperinflation, every currency crisis, every empire collapse, the assets that survive fall into a few categories. Hard money, gold and silver, real assets, land, commodities, productive businesses, and in the 21st century, decentralized digital assets that governments can't control, cryptocurrency. Let's start with gold, because gold is the foundation, the 5,000-year track record, the thing that has survived every single currency collapse in human history. As of this morning, January 23rd, 2026, gold is trading at $4,120 per ounce. That's up from $3,500 in September 2025. In 4 months,